As you guys can tell, completely different kind of look today. The soppy just got out of the shower look. But anyways, this is gonna be like day one of my writing vlog. I'm planning on doing these things like, I don't know how often honestly, but I'm just gonna like spread them out throughout the week. And then I don't know if I'll do a weekly vlog or not, but this is kind of my first day doing it. So this first part of the vlog is kind of my like, well, this first like vlog. My friends have been asking for kind of my writing process and how I go about doing it. If you hear noises, that is because I am texting a bunch of friends. But anyways, they've been asking for like how I do these things and how it kind of functions and like how I make my writing process work. So I thought the first like best thing to do is kind of work around it. And I wanted to talk about my writing process today on Tuesday, but it's been a long kind of day, so maybe something I'll do like on Wednesday. Yes, tomorrow. I'll do it then. But as for right now, I think I'm just gonna kind of like talk over like where I like to write, or like the times I like doing it and whatnot. Let me see, let me pull up my notes, what I have here. I have notes because you know every good person likes notes. Yeah, so kind of I am working on a lot of projects right now, and I don't even know have the exact number. I have like 2 or 3 stories that I kind of want to kick into high gear soon, and then on top of that I'm thinking of more stories. And it's not like a bad thing that I have all these stories. I just like having a lot to deal with, so that way like when I have writer's block for one, I won't have one for the other, or if I feel one story is doing a lot better than the other, I can go ahead and get that done and work on that, and then like so on and so forth. And I'm not going to mention titles just yet because I feel like I am not comfortable per se with sharing titles because they're kind of still works in progresses. But kind of in terms of where I like to write, I don't have like a set specific place where I prefer writing, where I'm like, if I don't write here, I am like, everything's gonna be thrown off, my mojo's gonna be gone, like everything that comes out of everything that comes out of my head and is put on paper is gonna be absolute crap. No, I don't really have that. I just kind of have my own little, like I said, I have my own little process, and this is kind of how it works for me. And as of right now, my favorite places to write are probably like my desk, which is where I'm talking at right now, if that's not obvious. Let me just show you how. No, actually, no, I'm not going to show you. And there's my bed, which is like, who doesn't like write? Everyone says not to write in your bed because your bed is kind of like, you're supposed to be sleeping and your mind's not supposed to be awake at that time, but it's just so comfortable. Like, how can you like not curl up with like your blanket over your head and just like typing in the middle of the night, the lights like glared and your sister's like, shh, stop typing so loud, because she wants to go to bed, and you're just like. Another place that I like writing is in my university's student union on the top floor. It's just really quiet during the day if there's not an event, and it's like the simple kind of quiet where you're not being bothered by the silence, but also you just feel really comfortable in it, and you can just kind of like lose yourself in your thoughts, and like I said, it's very comfortable. Another place is probably the quad in my university. It's really full, like it's fall, so of course it's gonna be cold and I probably won't be spending a lot of time there. But as of right now, it's one of my favorite places to read and to write. I can just sit there uncomfortably, because by the way, who in their right mind can say that sitting on a tree root, like a tree, like underneath a tree, is comfortable? Like the roots are like all, like aesthetically it's nice, but then when you sit down, you're just like, my ass is hurting. Like literally my ass is hurting. I do like to have a little bit of background noise or a little bit of movement going on, because if you're like writing late at night, you're gonna end up like, your mind will play tricks on you, and it's just writing at night is like one thing, and it's like so nice and calming, but like you get really paranoid because like in the middle of the night, and the only light you have really is your screen, doors open, your cat's running around chasing your dog, you can hear like the TV going on downstairs, and it's just like it's just whatever. So kind of what I do anytime it's like anytime I don't want perfect silence, if that makes sense, is I like doing a split screen, and I'll end up kind of split screening like whatever it is I'm writing, and then some like Netflix or something. I can't write to music, and like I've tried everything. So what I do is I'll split screen like a movie that I really like watching and can continue to watch with whatever I'm writing, or like maybe a rerun of Law and Order SVU, and that's kind of how I do it. And it's not even so much like I'm paying super close attention to, excuse me, I'm not paying super close attention to what's being what's on the TV, because like I said, it's a rerun. I've seen it 1,000 times. I could probably tell you the same exact lines word for word, but it's just like I can see like the movement out of the corner of my eye, and it's like a comforting kind of movement, and it's because it's not like a random thing that it's not a creepy movement, if that makes sense. And like the background noise like kind of fills in the silence in a sense without it being like too much, because like too much noise. It's just like a comfortable kind of noise with like the comfortable like all-encompassing silence. And that's kind of how I prefer writing, preferably in the middle of the night, because it's just like I can't get myself to wake up that early, but I can get myself to stay up really late, so therefore I just kind of enjoy writing that way. And it's just been like kind of how my mind works and how I get things to go. So yeah, today, since it's Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about how I kind of go through my writing process. And I have a lot of projects going on, so it's really hard to keep track of everything. And well, it's not super difficult, it's just I haven't found like a way to keep them all together without them getting lost, if that makes sense. So as of right now, I kind of do it my bullet journal way, and this glare in my glasses has been bugging me. Perfect. But basically, so for my writing process, I just kind of, like I said, this isn't like perfected for me yet. I've been adjusting it for a while, and for the most part, it's been kind of me word vomiting and editing as I go along. But however, I have been getting really kind of exhausted with that, because sometimes as I'm writing, I'll end up not liking what I've written, and then I'll delete it and then start from basically scratch. And that's not really a good way to get through everything, especially since I want to be a published author. So I've kind of come up with this like very like I said, it's not perfect and hasn't been perfected for me, but it's kind of a loose, if that makes sense. Yeah, we'll stick with that. A very kind of loose way of me working on this process. So hopefully you guys will get to see how that will change over time, or if I like this new process, because I still haven't gotten to the very end. But basically, so for my writing process, I do kind of a very, let me turn the sound off so I don't hear messages when my laptop goes off. But for the beginning, I kind of do like a loose plot a bit more. Like when I mean loose, I mean kind of like, oh, maybe I'll do a sort of like fairy kind of thing with like a bit of like fairy tale undertones. Like for this one story I'm working on, it's fairies with like a kind of a Sleeping Beauty undertone, if that makes sense. So we'll see how that goes. But it's a very loose plot. The only thing that I really have down for this are my characters. I try not to do the outlines, but I might have to get back into that so I have like a better idea of everything. But I do like solidifying the characters first, like kind of their names, their personalities, their relationships, and their overall role in the story. I don't have their kind of characterization or their arc set up, because if I try, I just confuse myself trying to stick to that outline. And then once that is done, I will go ahead and solidify the plot, or kind of the main points of the plot, like points A and B, and not how to get there, as well as kind of like, do I want like a rough idea of the ending, if that makes sense. I don't have like I'm not married to an ending yet, but I'm like, well, this would be an interesting way to end it, considering like how I have like the plot points set up so far. So that's kind of how that works for me. Oh, excuse me. Like I said, loose plot, solidify characters, solidify the plot, create points A through Z, and then after that, I kind of word vomit. After a while, I solidify the characterization. This is probably like when I'm halfway through a story. I try to like point out where this character is going, how I want them to go. Are things remaining the same, like how they dress, their mannerisms, how they act? And if not, where are the gaps happening? And then maybe like make notes of that. And then like this is all happening as I'm writing. I don't necessarily go back and look at it, but I'm like, while I'm writing a character, I'll be like, oh, well, did I remember doing this? Was this not a thing that like I continued? Why should I try to continue it in a later draft, or do I keep this new version kind of idea? But yeah, because that's kind of, it's just been ugh. But yeah, because normally when I try to keep a very focused character outline, I just get really confused and I end up mixing up characters or kind of spreading out like that favorite character you have or the main character's traits into the others, and that's not how I like doing. That's not how I kind of want to do it. So that's how I've been doing it recently. I just kind of point out the characterization as I go and then see where I need to make edits and if I like the character as it is or if I need to change things. Because, like, I'm just at the word vomit stage. Nothing is set in stone yet. Nothing is, I'm not married to any specific ideas. So that's kind of how I've been doing it. I tried outlines. I've tried, like, oh my goodness. I have really tried outlines, you guys. And it just hasn't worked for me, and I don't know why. I just feel like when I set out an outline, this is where like I kind of get married to everything, because I try to do a very in-depth outline, kind of like this happens here, this happens there, and like if you guys have ever written anything, you'll know that like your characters will be very, very focused on doing their own thing, even no matter how hard you try to tell them to do otherwise. And if you try to like tell them, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, then they just kind of push back a little more and it feels really forced. So I just kind of let things happen, and like when I do outlines and things don't always work out how I wanted them to, I'm just like, well, I just get more frustrated because I kind of had to stop the outlines. Like, yes, I do have points A through Z, but those are kind of like rough points. Like I can switch out Z with B, if that, well, maybe not Z with B, but like Z with W, if that makes sense. And then it'll work out better that way. But as for like outlines, I don't do it. I just feel like they're very constricting for me, and every time I do try to do it, I end up really unhappy. So something that I'm going to be trying to do after I finish this story is start reverse outlining. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, reverse outlining is kind of like you're not writing everything in reverse. let's just clear that up. It's not in reverse. It's kind of so you have your story or your chapter or your short story or however you want to do it all set out, and instead of like, say you're like me where you have points A and B and you finish the story and then you don't have an outline for it and you're editing. So instead of going straight into editing, you would go through your story and set up, like, you have your original plot points, like where you wanted them, and you would reverse outline. So you'd start, instead of like you'd outline at the beginning, like before you start writing, now you're outlining at the end where everything is kind of done, and you can kind of sit there and go, well, do I like this? Do I like that? And you just like write down all the major plot points that are happening. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to do that, and I'm almost done with a story of mine. I've said 1,000 times, this is a story I'm gonna want to get published, but I'm very okay if this is one of those stories that I do want to get published. I'm very happy with how things are going. So we'll see how reverse outlining works for me. I'm still kind of reading up on it to make sure I have a full grasp on like the concept before I start practicing it. But that's kind of it. And then afterwards, it'll be me editing heavily. So it is currently Monday, November 13th, and I completely forgot to film. Because, you know, when migraines are a thing and you're lazy. So maybe it won't be a week in my novel, it'll be a glimpse in my novel. Ugh. But anyways, I just submitted the submission thing that I have to do for my creative writing class, and I'm a little terrified. Not because I don't think it's the best work I've done. I enjoy what I wrote, but I feel like everyone's gonna start comparing it to Harry Potter, and I'm like, it's not Harry Potter. Hopefully I get all the editing done soon, because this is going up in tomorrow, and it's Monday and I haven't started editing, and I have a cat's licking himself on my lap. Nico, Nico, Nick, 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 Nick. Sit, Okay. That's where his priorities are right now. But yeah, that's basically it for this first writing vlog. I don't know how I'm gonna do the next writing vlogs, so it'll probably be like a monthly thing until I figure out a more, like, what's the word? Standard? I feel like, what do you call a word when you, routine? A more routine way of filming these? But until then, I'll see you guys on Saturday. Hopefully you guys are having a good week. Bye.